Well, good morning, my friends. It is Tuesday, or some people call it, our friend Uli always calls it Taco Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a good day, and I just cannot believe that today is Summer Wells' birthday. We do have new hope in the case because investigators spoke out yesterday and said they are nowhere near giving up on this case. I would love to know what they know. Lisa Durr, I have missed you. Where have you been? There's our girl Muscles. Muscles, do you check your phone anymore? I've been blowing your text up. Yes, happy birthday, Summer. Thank you, Pink Phoenix. Look at you guys coming in with the love so early. Thank you for the super sticker, Sonia Allen. Thank you for the super sticker. What am I going to do with you guys? Right off the bat. Again, happy you're here. Oh, Little B said, GM, I saw the funniest meme the other day. It was a granddaughter saying good morning to her grandfather, and she put GM, and he replied back to her, General Motors to you too. I died laughing, but I laugh at some of the stupidest things. Well, let's take a second and tell everyone good morning. Glad you're here and that you have not given up on Summer Wells. Absolutely amazing that after all this time, you guys still have faith in finding Summer Wells. You guys are not going to give up, and I absolutely love it. Now, another case local to East Tennessee is Evelyn Boswell. They had quite a hiccup yesterday when the jury pool didn't show up, and they had to go digging around to bring people in. My understanding is they picked their jury yesterday, and we should be good to go soon. Too bad Jeff Cassidy, the sheriff of Sullivan County, is not the sheriff of Hawkins County. But yep, today is Summer's birthday. Hard to believe. We've been talking about Summer for over 3.5 years. Our first show was June 16th, 2021. Well, one turd that will never flush is Tim Mullen. He has his own theories, and everyone does. He said, did open borders traffic Summer Wells? She disappeared under the Biden administration, and at the time also DCS was crashing. She and whole family lost on both accounts. Almost sounds the way that Dawn types. She and whole family lost on both accounts. Now listen, I'm not saying that an open border. JPL? Girl, I've been looking for you. What are you doing? JPL just had a birthday. Yes, she did. Okay, so Tim Mullen is wanting to know if the open borders have anything to do. Actually, he's saying that it did. I don't think anybody from Central America, South America, or what have you, I'll just say anywhere in the world, came across the border, made it to Ben Hill Road, and just happened to know that Summer was home and grabbed her. That seems to be a far stretch, okay? Now, this to me was important. From the Rogersville Review, investigators committed to finding Summer Wells as her 9th birthday arrives. As Summer Wells' 9th birthday arrives Tuesday, which is today, TBI and Hawkins County have both released, I got to take the banner down so I can read it, statements that the investigation is ongoing. Well, I would hope so, because she hadn't been found. We get back to Tim. God bless the Wells family, but those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. God knows the truth and is always truthful. SJWW, you are never forgotten. He's using initials of all four of the Wells children. Summer, Josie, Waylon, Wyatt. It's kind of repulsive that they keep bringing up the boys because, well, they signed their rights over. They obviously didn't work too hard to keep their sons, which is a good thing because I think they deserve a clean slate, a chance at success, a happy future. But it goes on to say, dear, you know who. Your response was 45 days past due. You passed the buck to save face. So obvious. Invent your own story. It is sick. Shame on you also. Q. Pitiful is the kindest word available. God always wins. Be sure to look at those pictures on Summer's 9th birthday, February 4th. Your damage is repulsive, so shameful, so very shameful. God is much bigger than your pompous self-opinion. May God help those who have damaged. May God help those you have so damaged. Okay. And when your tower falls, remember. I have no idea what his ass is talking about, but today is Summer's 9th birthday. And Tim never fails. Never fails. He never disappoints with his goofiness. Seriously. You know, I don't know where the whole open border thing is coming from. It makes absolutely no sense because my understanding is they've pretty much ruled out her just wandering off. FBI card team said there's no abduction. So that leaves us with foul play. And that's like shooting fish in a barrel because it's not hard to figure out who all around Summer Wells is foul. Well, our girl Criminal, who's not foul, she has her own theory, and everybody has their own. I want to hear what everyone thinks.
Yeah, we were at my mom's and his ex-wife Pam had came in. It was 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and she was crying up a storm, and she had little Donnie with her, and Margie was just a baby then, and she said that Donnie was down on 25th Street in Ogden trying to sell little Donnie for drugs.
That's important to know. That's important to know. Pam Wells is coming unglued because her husband at the time, Don, was down on 25th Street trying to sell their son for drugs. Got to be kidding me. Got to be kidding me. Pretty important stuff to hear.
He did try to sell little Donnie. I was there that day.
It was just a big mess, you know. He was, that's all he was interested in was drugs. It didn't matter if you know, his kids. He didn't care about his kids.
When you get addicted to drugs, you will sell your whole soul to stay high.
Don did say that. When you get addicted to drugs, you will sell your own soul to stay high. Now then, question is, do you think Don, Candice, their friends, the wrong friends Candice made, do you think that possibly their extracurricular activities could play a part in Summer's disappearance? I think it's very probable.
I was running the drug areas in Stockton, California when I was a younger kid.
Right.
Okay. And I seen this 14-year-old girl. I could tell she couldn't have been no more than 14 years old. Beautiful little girl, right?
Right.
But she was dressed like like a hooker, basically.
I remember many times and throughout my life, girls.
I will never understand this statement from Don. He's talking about seeing another child, beautiful little girl, he says, but she was dressed like a hooker. Listen, I don't look that much into children's appearances, but Don seems to dissect them. Remember what he said about Allie's daughter? She had a big old booty, and he said soon all the black guys are going to be on her. And I'm like, now hold on, why are you even thinking about anything like that? But he seems to he goes from 1 to 10 plus creepy real quick when he's talking about children, particularly girls.
Sitting on me. I've been to places in California where I've been to some places where there were little kids, where people were trying to sell these little kids.
Who the hell would be anywhere where they're trying to sell little kids and no one sneak into another room and hit 911? He says he remembers many times. Real Rockin' Robin said that is his nasty mindset. You got that right. Who the hell would even repeat a story like that knowing that your beautiful, beautiful little girl is missing? And where the hell were you that they're auctioning off children, Dawn?
Times and throughout my life, girls hitting on me. I've been to places in California where I've been to some places where there were little kids, where people were trying to sell these little kids.
Okay, so he starts off saying that, his whole life, these girls were always hitting on him. Okay, now we remember this with the story with Jeannie, when he said they were just playing house and she's the one that brought it on. She was 5, he was 12. Of course, we know it continued for many, 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 many years. And when he got out of jail, it started over again because he's a violent predator. Good morning, Diana. Just these statements alone makes me wonder how in the hell he is still free. How? Don thinks he is some kind of chick magnet, but he's only talking about little girls.
I pulled up to her in my truck, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing out here? Like, what do you not know that you're in a drug area, kind of thing?" And she's like, "Well, I'm just blah blah blah." I can't remember what she told me. I said, "Can I please take you home?"
Right.
All right. And then she said, "Yeah, no problem." And she jumped in my truck like it was shit.
I seen a mother one time. I'm not sure, and I can't prove it, but I think she was trying to do the same thing with her own damn daughter.
This old black woman was smoking pure cocaine. There's no way that them kids belong to that black woman. And they were addicted to cocaine. Them kids.
It's odd to me that he is so aware of his surroundings when it comes to little kids and what drugs someone is doing, but doesn't have a damn clue where his daughter could be. He's stopping to tell kids, "Don't you know where you're at? You're in a drug area. don't you know you're in a drug area? And this old black lady, she's smoking crack cocaine. Okay, all right. So I mean, you're that aware of your surroundings, but you have no idea what could have happened to your daughter. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Them kids could have been kidnapped from anywhere in the United States,
Right.
and addicted to cocaine and controlled by cocaine. When you get addicted to drugs, you will sell your own soul to stay high.
I've known Donnie and Pam for a long time.
Okay, speaking of Pam Wells, she's been going back and forth with people on Facebook Messenger. She is saying that Candice and Dawn have broken up. Can anyone confirm this? Now, I don't want to get you all itchy in the pants thinking that there's two hot people on the market right now. Okay? But does anyone know if what Pam is saying is true? That Dawn and Candice are no longer together? Because Pam Wells is swearing by it, and it is her account. Plead the Fifth, she's excited. Oh, Plead the Fifth is putting that sucker in reverse, and she's on the way to East Tennessee. She gonna get her some of that Wells magic. Woo, baby, look at that. Plead the Fifth. Come on. Damn.
Okay. And whenever I had my son, I was homeless. Pam said it was okay for me and this guy that I was with to live in her house. Okay. We wound up living in the shed.
Now the kids, you're speaking.
Or four of us. I'm sorry, there was four of us. It was me and Greg and Francis and James living in a shed. There was 3 kids back there.
Same with little Donnie when he went down on 25th Street here in Ogden, trying to sell little Donnie for money for drugs. You know,
Right.
he was that
He did
messed
that in
up.
Arkansas,
Messed
too.
up.
Mary's saying it again, trying to sell little Donnie for drugs. People are asking if the woman on the screen is Pamela Wells. No, this is Pam Wells. This is Dawn's first wife. Something about women with no teeth really turn Dawn on. Okay? This is Pamela, public profile. Let's see, there she is. I don't know who that dude is. What the hell's she drinking? It's a can of something. It looks like it's got Ray Charles on it. Is that a Pepsi or what is that? Yeah, she's a busy girl. She got a lot going on. And she's saying that Dawn and Candice are broke up. Now, it's a really strange situation because Dawn and Candice's children referred to Pamela Wells as grandma. I mean, I can see why. But they had kind of a strange relationship considering when Pam walked out on the porch in Arkansas and caught Dawn and Candice together and threw both their asses out, that she would be chummy with them in any way. Someone is holding a torch.
They seek out young girls with children. They'd act like they're doing you a favor, bringing you back to their home to help. And really what they had their eyes on was your child to be explored. There was a man arrested at the homeless place for
He was
essaying
arrested
children
at
as
a
well.
church. He was arrested at a church.
Exactly.
The police come up there and arrested him and charged him with SA. Okay.
Okay.
And it was like 5 years later, Greg McCorder got arrested.
My stepdaughter, Fran.
Here we go again. Dawn is always the victim. Gypsy Soul said sister wives. Could you imagine if A&E had that on? Dawn and his sister wives. Oh my goodness. By the way, if you're not a member, you might want to try it out. It's a lot of fun. A lot of stuff we can't talk about on the show that goes into members. But I'm loving this new reality show. Dawn and the Sister Wives.
Come up there and arrested him and charged him with SA. Okay.
Okay.
And it was like 5 years later, Greg McCorder got arrested.
My stepdaughter, Frances, and the one Greg, she was married to Greg, and then I had my stepkids there. Well, it wouldn't be my stepkids; it would be my. Anyway, I remember Gregory and the little girl. I can't remember her name right now, but I know they were taken into foster care, and he pled guilty to molesting, I guess, all his kids, his own kids.
Okay, he's talking about stepchildren, which I'm assuming are Pamela's, because she's much older than Dawn. And the kids go to foster care. Old boy goes to jail. Dawn acts like he's shocked, and he goes, for molesting his own kids. For molesting his own kids. And he acts like he's shocked by this. But this is a man, when he talks about what he did to Jeannie, they were just playing house and she came on to him. Becky Boop said, how did he know it was a drug area and what was he doing there? Looking for rugs. Yeah. And don't think he's any kind of Boy Scout that just had to warn this child that was a beautiful little girl that was dressed like a hooker. Please don't think that he just found the goodness in his heart to warn her where she was. Oh, no, no, no. There was more to that convo.
Holy shit. Yeah. So Lisa, why are you even trying to, what is your deal? What are you trying to?
Gregory was arrested earlier this year on suspicion of R and SA, a 6-year-old and 2 3-year-old girls. On Tuesday, he pled guilty to those charges. Detectives, the case said Gregory used a mask to terrorize the victims, claiming he was the boogeyman.
You want me to take you?
These are the people that they know. ICU said Greg McWhorter has been dubbed the boogeyman in Arkansas due to his charges. Got to be kidding me. I mean, the theories, or as the cool kids say, speculation, as to what could have happened to Summer are just all over the place. It is red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag, neglect, endangerment. You know, I don't care if mom and dad drink wine. I don't care if they take a smoke of a toke. I don't care if they need pain meds for bad back. I do not care. Kids do not need to be involved in it. And no dude like Don Wells needs to be creeping around any, as he says, drug neighborhoods and warning children dressed like hookers to get out of the drug neighborhood. And he seems to be kind of proud of this dude. I mean, don't forget about Candice's brother. Candice Grandis. Candice Hare. Don't forget about her brother Warren. He's one of the nastiest ever.
To the boogeyman? I didn't think you did.
Candice is laughing this off. Do you know the boogeyman? I didn't think you did. So not bothered with the nastiness around them.
Trafficking of children is a sneaky crime. You may not even realize it happens in the Tri-Cities. That's because it flies under the radar most of the time.
I'd say that it happens here just as much. It just looks a little bit different.
Grow Free Tennessee advocates for trafficking survivors right here in Northeast Tennessee. They argue that you'll find child sex trafficking anywhere there are vulnerabilities.
In more rural areas, and especially in East Tennessee, we see a lot of familial trafficking in disadvantaged areas, areas that there's a lot of drug addiction, poverty.
That means the most common way for children to be trafficked in Tennessee isn't through abduction or kidnapping. In fact, for the overwhelming majority, it starts in the home or with someone they trust.
And this is not just a statistic. This is evidence. This has happened. So the trafficking isn't someone that came across the border like Tim is saying. Don't get me wrong. The situation at the border has been a mess for, well, since I was born, if you want to know the truth. That's been a long time. But the main trafficking comes from inside the home.
There were certain times when it looks like Candice was getting shit off of Andy when other little girls were over there and things.
Them kids could have been kidnapped from anywhere in the United States, right? And addicted to cocaine and controlled by cocaine.
And I know that he was selling to the actual children, over there. But then that Candice was getting it for the kids too. And you've got to think of what that could do to a young one and sedate them. And for what purpose?
Summer was 3 years old.
ICU. She's picking my brain. Something that I have always pondered about. ICU said, why does Tim Mullen, frequent Taiwan? Asking for a friend. Anyone want to take a jab at that? Casey said, Brooks, can you share your opinion of what happened to Summer? So many theories are out there. Following law enforcement, they can't rule out foul play. My theory yesterday is probably different than what it is today because it is baffling. They had an extensive search for her, which rules out the wandering off, according to them. I don't work there, so I don't know. FBI card unit said there is no abduction. That leaves one thing. Something foul as fuck happened up on that mountain. And it makes me ill.
And I guess Candice had, I think it was meth or something on the table, and she was high off her ass, and she left the room, and Summer got into it, and she called us, and she showed up at our door, and Summer was like, she was shaking and crying.
My God.
And I was like, y'all didn't take her to the hospital? And she was like, no, we would have got arrested. So there we are, holding a freaking 3-year-old crying because she's scared and high out of her mind. Oh my God.
This is before even Summer came up missing.
They all knew. They all knew. You all know too. Look at this. Diana Howry, gifted 10 Crime Lines and Lies membership. Zach Walker, who I have a feeling is looking forward to the Chiefs-Eagles game on Sunday, gifted Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Get your umbrellas, please. So let's go back to what True said. I know a lot of people still think that one of the tree trimmers did something. And in another case, I would probably agree with you. I would at least consider it. But with everything people knew already, in the 5 short years they knew Summer, it still makes me not leave the driveway on Ben Hill Road.
Summer was 3 years old, and I guess Candice had, I think it was meth or something on the table, and she was high off her ass, and she left the room, and Summer got into it, and she called us, and she showed up at our door, and Summer was like, she was shaking and crying.
Oh my God.
And I was like, y'all need to take her to the hospital.
And if you remember this conversation, True was just put on the phone and asked a question. It's not like any of this was prepared, unlike what some people will say. She's recollecting a memory. When they told Candice to take her to the hospital, she said, no, because they'll arrest me.
She was like, no, we would have got arrested. So there we are, holding a freaking 3-year-old crying because she's scared and high out of her mind. Oh my God.
This is before even Summer came up missing. This had to deal with giving kids weed because a phone call came in from CPS saying that I was giving the kids weed. My grandkids said, no, it wasn't me, it was kids. And so she came down to threaten my grandma.
That poor little girl, she got a body from hell. I seen all kind of black meat all over the park. And you know what all the family wants on fire for her. She'll be pregnant.
Again, he's very aware of what young girls are doing. Talking about a 12-year-old saying she's got a body from hell, she'll be pregnant soon. It's horrible. Horrible.
She ain't pregnant right now.
How old is she?
What, 13? How old is
Wait, does she have black?
She's 12. She got a body from hell. I'm like, what?
12. Wow.
But Don, you're saying Don Wells gave your grandkids alcohol?
That's what the little one says.
Another child done away that's supposedly for sale or trade for meth.
You know that they accused me of selling my daughter for gold. You know what I did? Fucking TBI and FBI.
But that can't.
He said they are accusing me of selling my daughter for dope. He mentions TBI and FBI. I don't think he's talking about YouTube. Okay? Now remember, to prove everyone wrong, good old Don went to the ATM, took out a bunch of cash, went to Knoxville, bought a bunch of crack, and went back home with it to prove he didn't need to sell Summer for drugs. He could buy drugs on his own. Let's have a round of applause for Don. He really proved a lot to us that day. Way to go, Dawn. You certainly proved your point.
What did she have? 12.
But Don, you're saying Don Wells gave your grandkids alcohol?
Little one says.
Another child down the way that's supposedly for sale or trade for meth.
Do you know that they accused me of selling my daughter for gold? You know what I did? Fucking FBI and FBI.
But that Candice had mentioned that the person they knew was selling a child or trading a kid for meth. And I did absolutely report it to police.
I went and draw $2,000 on my bank account. I went to Knoxville, bought $2,000 worth of fucking shit. I fucking give dope away all night for 2 days.
Oh, Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip, bring.
Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip, Knoxville trip. And don't get me wrong, I am not the president of Jody Sue's fan club. But there's been too many ties to Knoxville and drugs with Dawn. Thank you so much, Diana, for the super sticker. And yes, happy birthday, Summer. Happy birthday, Summer.
The dope back, have more money, take the kid with you to the Knoxville trips over the weekend, trap them in the car while you bang prostitutes and bring the dope back to the fucking hollow and disperse it. Go ahead, Don.
I showed them that I don't need to fucking sell my fucking daughter to buy dope. I got plenty of money in my bank account.
Did Don have any deals that you was unaware of that may have included your daughter, maybe?
You know, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay.
They told me that they had information that I traded my daughter to a drug dealer for fucking dope. So I showed them different.
Okay, question. Then why, when he got the call via Facebook Messenger, because you know Candice can't get a signal unless she's getting a Cash App or calling 911 for herself. Why did he check the shed first? When Candice said she can't find Summer, Dawn comes home. Why did he check the shed first? Is that shed some kind of trade-off spot? I don't know.
Then let's talk about Summer. Where is she? She's probably being traded off for drugs and money and everything else.
He was the one that was sitting on a damn toilet the day that he fired me, staring at his phone like he lost something in his life. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Personally, I believe Dudley. I believe something for sure went down on June 14th, 2021. Plans were in the works. Because if you only have one person to help you, which according to Dawn, everything was split 50-50, which is insane to do. If you're the main contractor, it should be more like a 70-30, an 80-20, but according to him, 50-50. So, June 14th, 2021, CPS goes to pay a visit to Wells Manor. Of course, Candice can't be bothered with that, and she's certainly not going to answer any questions or do the right thing. Don's sitting on the toilet. I'm not saying he was using it. He could have just been sitting there. He said he was looking at YouTube videos about how people who do meth act because he thought Dudley was on meth. And he fired him. June 15th, we have a lot of crazy stuff going on. And the craziest of all, Summer vanishes, poof, into thin air. Dawn tells Clyda Trent, who I'm telling you right now, this old lady's not making anything up, even though some people want to say she is, but it's because it doesn't fit their narrative. All we know is what we know. That they were coming back on the 16th. Then we have June 17th. June 17th, Candice and Grandis go to get new phones. They go by Allie's house to ask Hunter what he's been telling the TBI. They wanted to know. TBI is called saying Candice was here. They called back. They wanted to know what was she driving. And then again, reminded Allie and Hunter to not talk to Candice. They didn't say don't talk to Dawn. They didn't say don't talk to Grandis. They want to know what Candice was driving and reminded them not to talk to her. So remember, on the 16th, CPS was coming back over. 17th, Candice and Grandis decide to do a drive-by at Allie's house. She specifically asked Hunter about the twisted tea, and she said, that better been all you told him. Then we get to the 18th. That's when Don did his first interview with Rogersville Review. Candice and Grandis, here I'll show you the picture. They go to the water park. There they are. That's June 18th, 2021. You clearly see it says water park. There's Candice and Grandis wearing their summer best, getting ready to go up and down the slicker slide. Dawn makes a trip to Dudley's over in Virginia to pay him his measly $300. Now, he could have done a Walmart to Walmart. He could have done a Venmo. He could have done a Cash App. He could have said, come pick it up at the office. I don't know. Now, he fires the dude on Monday, the 14th. The 18th, he makes a special trip to take Dudley his $300. Now, this is after Dudley's father has been visited by the FBI because he lives in Churchill, Tennessee. Come on now. Come on. Nobody is going to even think twice to go, maybe get a phone is one thing, but water parks, intimidating witnesses, paying off someone that you fired, these are not things people are going to do with their child who recently was missing. Thank you, Angel P. 10 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. I'll tell you what, if you don't have a membership around here, you're either Brit or Walking Dead. I don't know how it happens.
God had something on his mind. This was the day before? Yeah, the day before. Oh, okay. Yeah, it seemed like he had something on his mind. You ever see a man have like 1,000 miles there?
And then you saw him on that Monday before he got fired, crying or distraught on a
He
Twitter.
wasn't crying. He was definitely disturbed, mentally disturbed.
And you don't think it was like,
his prize.
and you don't think it was because
Some
he
was
was.
his prize. I don't know. I heard something about the boys saying, "Where y'all going?" And they were carrying Summer out the house. Don and Candice, she was head down on his shoulder, carried her out, and they left. So I don't know if that was Sunday or Monday.
You know, when this all first happened, I was at my mom and dad's, and I asked my dad, I said, well, what do you think happened? And he goes, I think Donnie got messed up with the bad guys. I think he got messed up with drugs, and I think he owes them money. That's My dad's exact word.
Okay, so Don's dad said he got mixed up with the wrong people and, somebody retaliated over drugs. I watched an interesting show, I don't know, a few months ago, talking about drug debts. And one thing that they don't do is take children, because druggies don't care about children. So I'm not sure if this theory holds any water. But we do know it's been way past 3.5 years. We've had no updates from law enforcement, which means they are certainly keeping things tight to the vest. The answer is there somewhere, and I'm just not leaving that hill.
Even my brother, I asked him, and he's been following the case a little bit here and there, not a lot, but I said, what do you think? What do you think? Because he knows Donnie really good too. He grew up with him too. And he said, I think he sold her. He's like, you got to figure that's what Donnie does when he needs drugs. He sells things, even his own kids.
Well, it just seems it's hard to believe that something like that can happen.
Well, it could be someone pretty desperate for money or whatever, or I don't know what their angle is, but yeah, I mean, it would be pretty desperate.
At the very start, I always thought that maybe he had sold her because I really do think he came to Utah to try to get money from my dad. Donnie needed money for some reason, like a lot of money, okay?
When you get addicted to drugs, you will sell your own soul to stay high. I mean, they come at me.
What kills me is some people keep using the whole, they're just poor mountain people. Okay, poor people cannot approach their parents and ask for large sums of money. Doesn't work that way. Poor people wield 11 acres and a home. Don has a good job. We can only guess where that money goes to.
Me and said I had somebody, they deposed and said they had the inside scoop of TBI and that they knew that I sold my daughter for drugs. And I flipped out.
Okay, so he said he was told that the TBI said they have the inside scoop that he sold his daughter for drugs, and he said he flipped out. He flipped out. Well, I'd flip out too.
Your own soul to stay high. I mean, they come at me and said I had somebody, they deposed and said they had the inside scoop of TBI and that they knew that I sold my daughter for drugs. And I flipped out. I flipped out. I believed that stuff. Like I believed it. I believed that stuff. Like I believed it. They knew that I sold my daughter for drugs. I believed it. And I flipped out. I started drinking and everything else. That's why I took our kids. That's why I took our kids. I'm clean. I don't do nothing. I won't even pick up a beer. Okay, so they know. For one thing, if I drink beer, then I do want that crap, so I won't even touch a beer.
Do you see the screen?
Yeah.
You said it came back to you again about a week or week and a half before Summer came up missing.
Well, that picture where I'm holding her, where you got me holding her right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I won't lie to you. I'll tell the truth. Yeah. I knew at that moment the time was close at hand. And I don't know how I knew, and I can't explain it. I wasn't told in words or anything like that. But I knew the time was close at hand, and I actually had tears in my eyes. The picture might not show it.
No, we can see you're crying.
Okay, so when this picture was taken, according to Dawn, he's holding Summer. He said he had tears in his eyes because he knew that the time was close at hand that she would be gone. Listen to him again, because this freaks me out.
Yeah.
You said it came back to you again about a week or week and a half before Summer came up missing.
Well, that picture where I'm holding her, where you got me holding her right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I won't lie to you. I'll tell the truth. Yeah. I knew at that moment the time was close at hand. And I don't know how I knew, and I can't explain it. I wasn't told in words or anything like that. But I knew the time was close at hand, and I actually had tears in my eyes. The picture might not show it.
No, we can see you're crying.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You can see it.
Yeah, I mean, you can take it or leave it, but that's the truth.
Oh, I'll take it. Nobody's hugging their child knowing that the end is near for their child. No one. Because they wouldn't even leave the house. So a week and a half before, he said he's holding Summer. He had tears in his eyes because he knew the end was coming. I think, just me, this is Candice. We've seen this many times. We're going to go through it again today. Today is Summer's 9th birthday. I truly think if Candice Hare, or as they call her, Candy, you know, that one chick that thinks she knows everything about the family. I think if she started cooperating with the authorities and tell them everything that was going on that hill, even if it comes to her own embarrassment, who cares? If she tells them, I think they could seriously crack this case.
She came out and took me into the ER because my leg was messing up on me, and we were afraid something was wrong with my knee. I have a knee replacement, and she was worried that there was something wrong with it.
Okay, that's clue 1 for June 15th, 2021. Can't, who can seriously lay in bed until noon or 1 in the afternoon, is worried about her mother that morning. Hell, maybe Candice gets her disability check on the 15th. I don't know. But she's worried that her leg was messing up on her because she had a knee replacement. Yeah, no. Candice could have hobbled over to the door holding her own leg, torn off with wolves and dogs chewing on it. Candice would not give 2 Fs. So that is clue 1. Because Candice doesn't care about anybody but herself. For the last 3.5 years, we have seen her use and abuse one person after another. She refers to these people as ex-friends.
And she took me into the hospital, and I ended up getting a shot for it to get rid of the pain. And
does anybody in here have a knee replacement? Shoulder, anything like that? I don't. But I know my mother-in-law had a knee replacement, and there was like no feeling in that knee. I mean, for swelling, she would get like a cortisone shot, something like that. But giving a shit about people is not in Candice's metabolism.
They prescribed me medication to take to get the swelling down out of my knee and around my knee because it was inflamed. And then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day.
She said, I think they went swimming that day. It does make us wonder who's telling the truth and who's fabricating. because Hunter was very descriptive about being at the swimming hole. He said Candice was up there putting minutes on her phone. I don't know. That Candice had to help her hobble down the walkway. All the videos we have seen are only of Hunter and Summer. We don't see Candice. We don't even hear her in the background.
At the horse stables, I believe it was.
She's at the horse stables, I believe it was. To me, that's an admission that she wasn't there.
And then we come back and I went in my camper, and after we brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer. And I laid down and went to sleep, and I got up and I was sitting in my doorway, and we come out, and
Interesting, you hear the dogs going crazy by her. All around Candice. I think they do that when she lies. Anyhow, the day Summer went missing, June 15th, 2021, no dog to be found, supposedly. Anyone that's been to that hill says those dogs are all over the place. People were bringing them dog food. But the day of Summer's disappearance, no dogs.
and Candice asked me what I was doing. I said, well, we got to transplant these little cactuses into bigger pots. And we did that. And then Summer come in and had a piece of peppermint, which is her favorite. And
No, you got that shit for free at Sonic. You got that shit for free at Sonic. It's not her favorite. You got that shit for free at Sonic, and you just happen to have one in your pocket. This should be much more fluid for Candice. She shouldn't even have to be thinking about these things. Welcome, new members. Look at Kimberly Mann. Look at that. Thank you so much. Welcome to the family, my friends.
is her favorite. And then she went in. She said, Mama, I want to go play with the boys. Candy walked her back to the house, and she asked the boys to keep an eye on her, and that's the last time I seen her.
Tell me when you first realized that Summer was...
Yeah. And you can still hear the dogs. You know, the dogs that weren't around on June 15th, 2021. You hear them wrestling around on each other, licking each other's assholes and everything. So I guess the dogs weren't on vacation the day Candice did her interview. Today's the day. Today is Summer Wells' 9th birthday. You could make a phone call to 800 TBI Find, Hawkins County, FBI, any number that you have got in your wallet, and you could tell them. Now that I think about it, there were some strange things going on.
Was missing. What was going through your mind, and what was it like here?
To be blunt, it was hell. I mean,
Glad the dogs are back from their spa day.
and I apologize, I'm blunt. As everybody knows, I have a missing daughter. She's been gone for 12 years. And all I could say is, oh God, not again.
Oh God, not again. You know what I'd do? I'd go buy a fucking lottery ticket. Because what you have in this family with people that just disappear without a trace is lottery odds. Y'all know what was going on up on that hill. You know about Jose, Allie, Sherry, Jody Sue, Andy, when Fred would hang around. You know all of that shit. What went down with Candice and Hunter. You know all of it. Summer showering with Dawn. Y'all know every bit of this. You know who was hanging around. So today's a good day for Grandis to make a phone call.
And I couldn't do nothing but cry. And we yelled for her, and we yelled for her, and yelled for her. And we could not find her. Candy was in hysterics. And we never did find her. She called 911, and
everyone knows their own yard. They know their own property. We yelled for her and yelled for her and yelled for her. We never could find her. Candy was in hysterics. She was, and I thought to myself, God, not again. I was crying. Why didn't you look? The first thing that I would assume is she's around here somewhere. But they immediately jumped to abduction. We just couldn't find her.
she called Donnie, and we sent the boys down over the hill, and I stood in front of over by the edge there and watched them. And was praying to God every minute that nobody would take them. And
praying to God nobody would take the boys. They send them out with buck knives to go check around the creek and everything. And they're praying to God nobody would take them. Why would you even assume that somebody just took Summer? We know Jose said one time Summer was missing for about an hour. And they found her on the property. But the day of her disappearance, they surmised real fast that they couldn't find her. How does this happen?
There was no sign of her.
Do you believe that someone took Summer, or do you believe that she wandered off? What do you believe happened?
I believe somebody took her. I know people say it doesn't happen, but it does happen. It happens in small towns. It happens in big towns. It happens in the country. And
well, it does. It does, but it's very rare. Extremely rare. Most foul play when it comes to children is in the home. And considering law enforcement says they can't rule out foul play. And now they're saying that TBI in Hawkins County have released that this case is not cold. It is an ongoing investigation. Well, what are you investigating? I would love to know. And no, I'm not picking on law enforcement. But what and who could you be investigating? Because after all this time, you know she didn't just wander off. After extensive investigation, you know that she wasn't randomly abducted out of the holler. I would love to know who they're looking at. All right, our good friend Mike Kelly, who is a sweetheart and a half, put together 3 theories. And you tell me what you think.
And if my daughter was missing, all of the people that are working on this case are the people who I would choose.
So, hey, folks, if you're like me, you have the name of Summer Wells popping into your head from time to time. Never more than when I'm out here in the woods. And there are a number of theories out there, everything ranging from abduction, human trafficking, to foul play. Even the theory that Summer Wells wandered off, got injured, lost, and died from the elements. I want to explore the possibility of that last scenario in this video, but first I want to talk about a few others. Well, hey, thanks for joining Profiling Evil, and please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. You know, there are a lot of theories bouncing around about Summer's disappearance, and the only authoritative sources on the subject come from TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, who still has not been able to narrow this thing down to a single cause. In other words, all the leads that they've had thus far have dried up. Now, that doesn't mean that there may be things that they're working on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, but the last official statement from TBI shows their frustration and provides us with little information. So we continue to speculate and wonder. I'm going to be focusing my remarks on the tragic disappearance of Summer Wells, that 5-year-old girl who went missing in June of 2021 from her family's rural property in Tennessee. Now, her disappearance has raised many questions about how children can simply vanish completely. Now, while every case is unique and Summer's specific situation remains unsolved, there are several plausible explanations for why a young child like her could simply disappear in the woods and frankly vanish despite extensive search efforts by law enforcement, by search and rescue personnel, and by you, concerned citizens.
Military style search, shoulder to shoulder, looking straight down at the ground so nothing is missed. They begged people, search your property. If you can't search, we will send people out to search for you. Drones, heat-seeking drones. They even got a specialized plane from the Air Force that can penetrate through rock. Where is she? Where is she? No animal got a hold of her. That would have been easy peasy for them to figure out. Dogs, drones, helicopters, specialized planes, military grade search. Where could she be?
Now, Summer's disappearance from her Hawkins County, Tennessee home sparked a media firestorm. There were extensive search efforts, countless theories about what could have happened to this little girl. And I want to kind of explore some of those in a little bit of detail. Investigators and search teams initially focused on the idea that Summer Wells wandered off into the surrounding wilderness. Now, this lack of clear evidence has led to widespread speculation about other possible explanations, including foul play, abduction, and even family involvement. And while I'm going to focus on some of the things that support how she might have wandered off and disappeared, I want to first acknowledge the various possibilities, combining factual information from the case with some of the more speculative theories.
Oh, and there's tons of speculation. But you see right here, Leslie from TBI, she said, absolutely, this is a criminal investigation. Absolutely it is. Because she said foul play has not been ruled out. Foul play has not been ruled out. Abduction's been ruled out. Wandering off has been ruled out, but foul play has not.
That have surfaced in the media. So first, let's set aside the idea that she wandered off. This wandering hypothesis we'll talk about in a few minutes after we explore a couple of the other things that I've got listed here. Now, again, think about the environment we're in. But first, I want to talk about the possibility that Summer Wells was abducted by a stranger. This possibility has been a major focus of speculation, although there's no solid evidence to confirm that it happened that way. Now, many people believe that Summer didn't wander off. and that she wasn't found near her home. And that has caused them to think about the possibility that she was kidnapped. So the first one that we want to talk about is, was Summer Wells snatched by a passing driver? Summer's home, while remote, is near a road. Now, one theory suggests that a passing motorist could have seen this little tyke outside and taken the opportunity to abduct her. However, keep in mind, investigators have stated over and again that there's no evidence of an abduction. No tire tracks, no signs of struggle, no witnesses reporting seeing a suspicious vehicle with a little girl in it. Now, another possibility is that Summer was part of a targeted abduction. So she was targeted. And this was a big theory by a number of online sleuths who speculate that Summer's disappearance is proof that this was a planned or targeted event. Now, if you look at the case from the fundamental standpoint of victimology, it's true. Low-risk victims are statistically targeted. They're victimized by people that know them. Now, those who are basing their thoughts on this theory are failing to take into account the challenge that occurs based on the...
I agree with that more than anything. Summer could honestly be a victim of all the circumstances that were her life. I say were because she's not there right now. I'm not using past tense. Who would she be sold to? He's talking about victimology. Who was hanging around that would just happen to know after a very, very, very busy day that Summer was home in the afternoon and was left unattended? Who would know?
Situation, the circumstances around what was going on, and look around, the environment. By simply wandering from her home and down near the road, Summer could have become the victim of an opportunistic predator who happened to be passing by. Now, I'm not suggesting that that happened, only that that is one explanation. And sharing this information is a way to maybe dilute the possibility that she was targeted. Now, we have to accept the fact, though, that Summer's disappearance in broad daylight, when her mother and grandmother were reportedly close by, makes the idea of a random abduction seem less likely. Again,
I'm going to help Mike with this. He said, seems less likely. The middle of the day with mom and grandma right there. I'm going to help him. It's called bullshit. It's called bullshit. You live in the middle of nowhere, and you're telling me someone flew blind into the holler and just happened to know they were home. Anyone who has even attempted to get up that hill to approach their house, for one, it takes them several tries to get up there because it's a steep driveway. That is if you can find the driveway. Because many people have missed it. They don't even know there's a house up there. Okay? So you get up there, and they say you're surrounded by dogs. You can't even open your car door. You can't even open the car door because there's so many damn dogs.
and there are pros and cons to each theory, and about whether this could have been done by somebody who was known to Summer, she was targeted, or if she could have fallen victim to an opportunistic predator, some abuser or predator that happened to be passing by. But again, keep in mind, Tennessee investigators say there are no suspects that fit this pattern or description. Now, there are ghost stories out there, and there are theories spun up by the true crimers, but this leaves us with the possibility of human trafficking. Now, some people believe a child could be targeted for trafficking purposes, especially given the isolated, impoverished nature of the area where Summer Wells lived. Traffickers might exploit this very thing, but it's important to point out again, Tennessee law enforcement authorities have not found any credible evidence to support this theory. And experts in child trafficking have pointed out that this kind of a scenario would be really unusual, especially in this little rural area.
Okay, I agree with Susan. The truth of the matter is that the children were surrounded by creeps. They might have come across some good people at church. Something like that. But as far as their inner circle, these are no bueno. These are not good people. I say keep your circle tight. Ladies, the two you sit on and the people you keep around you. Keep that circle tight. Because Candice didn't. She didn't give a rat's ass who came around, who she picked up from the gas station, who she rubbed shoulders with when she was playing coin pusher. She did not care.
Now, some would argue that it certainly is possible, and I'm not going to challenge that. Now, if Summer Wells' disappearance was criminal in nature, though, we have to consider whether the individual or the individuals who orchestrated her disappearance were part of her inner circle, those trusted to her, or strangers. Again, based on victimology, we have to consider family members. So I want to talk about family members for just a moment. The media has paid significant attention to Summer Wells' family, largely because of inconsistencies in their statements and also their behavior. I mean, the behavior of her parents is particularly troubling.
No shit. I'm so glad he's just put it out there. The inconsistent statements. Some people are too scared to say it. A lot of people don't talk about Summer anymore. They're like, it's old news. Nothing's going on. Okay. Old news can be new news because we have to be reminded. Her parents' behavior is troubling. Yeah. Listen, I don't think there's any guidebook on how to act in times of extreme mental anguish, trauma, anxiety. But I can tell you there must be a guidebook on how not to act because they got it down. They got it down.
In particular, her father, Don Wells. Now, no charges have been filed against the family, but online speculation continues to be rife with people questioning whether the family may have had some involvement in her disappearance, whether directly or indirectly. So it's important to point out again that law enforcement hasn't necessarily cleared Summer's parents, nor have they charged them with any kind of a crime. That they did, though, remove the other children in the home and took those out of the parents' care. So there clearly were concerns that they had in regard to the environment that the children were living in.
We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two. We think that the only way we'll be successful in finding Summer is to continue to walk down both of those investigative paths to ensure that we don't become focused on one area alone and miss something that's crucially important.
So this leads me to spend a couple of minutes just talking about an accidental death cover-up. Because one theory speculates, both in the media and in the community, that Summer might have accidentally died at home, something like a fall or drowning. And we've seen those videos on this. And given the rural and isolated nature of the property, Some people are speculating that the family could have hidden her body somewhere in that dense forest. And again, think about this area that we're in, and that they've been able to elude searchers by hiding her.
All right, what do you guys think? You think that there was an accident? I know some people lean that way. And that Candice freaked out and was afraid to go to jail? Just like when she took Summer over to Allie's house and True answered the door and Summer got into something and they said, you got to take her to the ER. And she said, no, because I'll get arrested. Somebody on that hill knows a lot more than what they're saying.
But keep in mind, the authorities have consistently maintained that Summer's parents have been cooperative in the investigation and that there's no physical evidence to point to this scenario. So it would appear from the outside looking in that there's clearly significant family dysfunction and neglect based on the children being removed. Summer's home life has come under scrutiny, with media coverage pointing to previous issues of substance abuse in the family, legal troubles involving her parents. Don Wells reportedly has a history of criminal offenses, including domestic violence and DUI, which has led to theorizing of this instability in the home that could have played a role in Summer's disappearance.
Hey, he said it, not me, but I agree. Instability in the home could have played a big part in Summer's disappearance. Now let's talk about instability. Y'all can just start naming them out as it comes to your head. Come on, whether you're in the bushes or you're actively chatting. What's unstable? Besides Dawn, Candice, and Grandis. We know there is a history of rug use, excessive alcohol, lousy boundaries. Lousy boundaries. We have domestic violence. We have a history of sexual assault on children. Anna said, I doubt the family could have done such a good job of hiding a body than keeping quiet. I've said that before. I agree. They'd be pointing fingers at each other. The only way you have a secret is if you don't tell anyone. Candice is not scared of her mother. And her mother certainly isn't scared of Candice or Dawn. About a month and a half after Summer disappeared, Grandis hightailed it. She got the hell out of Tennessee. Now, people that are Wells supporters, not Summer supporters, but Wells supporters, they say, well, she already had that trip planned. We can reschedule. We can reschedule. You have 3 grandsons that were taken by the state of Tennessee and a granddaughter missing. But since you already had this planned, you're going to go ahead and go along with your trip. No. No.
Now, again, keep in mind, the Tennessee Department of Children's Services became involved in that family after Summer's disappearance, and they removed 3 brothers. These are Summer's brothers from the home. Now, authorities haven't specified why they did this, but it certainly raises concern about the environment that Summer was living in. We also have to take into account the contradictory statements made by Summer's parents. Now think back on these for a moment. Don Wells has made public statements expressing concern that his daughter may have been kidnapped or trafficked. Now that's really significant because on the flip side, Candice Bly has been much more reluctant to speak extensively to the media. Now, she did join my buddy Dr. Phil on a show, but these differing approaches have fueled speculation that there might be more to the story.
In my opinion, everything Dawn and Candice have done to, what's the word I'm trying to use? I guess their way of advocating for Summer has been an epic fail. That Dr. Phil and the behavioral panel was insane. Candice ripping off the wire. I just want to go home. It's not helping me. I just want to go home, Donnie. This isn't helping me. Oh, these people are just trying to help, find Summer. It's not helping me. And as far as people saying, Brooks, you shouldn't be doing this show today. Dawn doesn't want anyone doing a show about Summer today. These are people that did not know her birthday when they called 911. They did not know her birthday. They did not bother to tell police that she had a shaved head. They did not know her age. Couldn't even tell you what happened. It went from, I was pouring cereal and she walked out the door. I was doing dishes, she walked out the door. To then we get the transplanting succulent story.
Then we're seeing.
No, help me!
Some people are finding it suspicious that a child could disappear in such a short time frame. But remember again, according to the family, Summer was only outside for 2 minutes before vanishing, leading to these ongoing questions about whether the full truth has been told by the family or by the parents in this case. And we got to consider the possibility of neighbors or someone in the community being involved.
Peach State Mama said they didn't know her birthday when Molly asked either. So you're telling me today's a special day for them? I know there's going to be a church service for Summer and other missing children. I'm not sure who's putting it on, but I think it's a beautiful idea. I know some people who have been looked up to over the years are suddenly now Team Dawn and Candice. They're saying they couldn't have done anything. We're not saying they did anything directly in Summer's disappearance, but the instability in the home and the people they had hanging around their children, I think, had a lot to do with Summer's disappearance. A lot to do. And when pinned down on the Dr. Phil show, we have an entire playlist about Summer Wells. You can catch the Dr. Phil show on there. When Can't is being asked simple questions. I'm not saying they weren't triggering. Just talking about a child that has vanished, I would think would put anyone into a bundle of nerves. She said, I feel like I'm being interrogated again. And I don't want to do this. Then she goes into but it's not helping me.
And keep in mind, no neighbors were named as suspects. Now, rural communities like the one in which Summer lived tend to be small and close-knit. It's been suggested that somebody familiar with the family or the local area could have been involved. And in previous videos that I've done on the Summer Wells case, we've looked at some of these other factors, including looking at the registered sex offenders in the area. So you might want to go back and check those out and kind of refresh your mind on those. At one point, remember that TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, issued a statement, though, asking for help from the community in identifying a possible witness. Remember, it was a man driving a Toyota pickup who was seen in the area on the day of Summer's disappearance. Now, the man that was sought was only a potential witness, according to police, but this announcement just led to incredible speculation that there could have been someone near the property who was watching Summer or her family. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Put them down below so we can have some discussion about this. Some people have suggested there could be a person in the area with knowledge of the terrain who might have taken advantage of Summer's brief moment of vulnerability and taken her and hidden her somewhere. Despite this theory, there's no solid evidence that's emerged from any neighbors or any community members to suggest there's direct involvement. Now, one area that I'm always thinking about, especially in rural areas, is this thought that maybe wildlife interaction is involved. Now, think about this for a moment.
Okay, I get where Mike's going. I get where he's going. However, with heat-seeking drones, helicopters with huge spotlights, dogs that are trained with real good sniffers, they would have found carnage like that. Okay? People say, well, she could have gotten to a sinkhole. All right, again, heat-seeking drones. Maybe she fell down into a ravine. Again, heat-seeking drones. This wasn't like a 2-hour search. This went on for weeks. And I agree with ICU. Dan Armstrong is the weakest DA in Tennessee.
Many cases of child disappearance involve the possibility of wildlife. This scenario has been less discussed in this case, Summer Wells' case, perhaps due to the lack of physical evidence that maybe a large predator was involved. But that said, Summer went missing in an area that has home to, by all accounts, black bears, coyotes, and wild boars. And some people have speculated that Summer might have wandered a short distance and encountered a wild animal that could have caused serious injury or death. Now, if she had had an accident and was unable to move, she also could have become a target of some carnivorous animal. And if this happened in an isolated spot, think again about the area we're in, her body could have quickly been hidden by vegetation or carried away by animals, which is part of that.
Okay, piss on that. The dude is awesome. I like him, but he knows better than that. He knows that if a bear or a snake or a coyote got a hold of Summer, the carnage will be real. It would be real. And they would have heard screaming. Fred would have heard it. Laura would have heard it. Jody Sue, whatever state she was in, she would have heard it. Don would have heard it if he was home. Candice, Grandis, the boys. It wouldn't be a, oh, hi, bear. It wouldn't be anything like that. It would be screams, blood-curdling screams. And I agree with Lisa Durr. She said, I have never forgot what the detective in her case said. Summer's case bleeds into the CPS case with the boys. I still believe that. I do too. We go back to the instability of the home. When they say her disappearance bleeds into the CPS case. 100%.
Process of predation. In the case of these animal attacks or consumption after the fact, it's possible that scavenger animals could have reduced the physical evidence to the point that Summer's remains are difficult to locate. They could have drugged them off into the dense woods and uneven terrain, a place where they could easily hide the body, or it could easily be hidden from anyone that's out looking for her. We have to keep in mind that also in this area, there are underground caves, wells, springs that have dried up, hidden areas in and around Summer's home. And it's possible that this little tyke could have fallen into one of those natural or man-made hazards. Think about the possibility of an abandoned well or a sinkhole in the area.
Could be, could be, could be. And I'm not saying that the search was perfect because there's no such thing when humans are involved. But remember, they had the plane from the Air Force that can actually see through rock. They used it in Afghanistan. Maybe not the same plane, but you get the theory, to look through caves. But dogs, dogs, dogs. Not just the dogs up on Ben Hill Road, but trained dogs, not Wells dogs, did not get a scent of any sort of carnage.
These features are not uncommon in rural parts of Tennessee, where land development can leave dangerous, unmarked holes in the ground. Again, something that has to be considered. And think about the fact that the Appalachian region is also known for its cave system. Some believe that Summer could have wandered into a small cave or a crevice, became trapped and unable to get herself out and died there. Without proper equipment or knowledge of the area, such a location would be really difficult for searchers to find her body.
Many people have speculated what they think has happened in this case. The difficult part of the speculation is that if we as investigators speculate and focus our efforts in one direction, we're making a huge mistake.
Yeah, that would be my job. Because I'm not law enforcement. I'm going to speculate. I'm going to say this makes no sense. I'm going to have a theory. Kat said, exactly how far was Summer getting without shoes? It's common not to wear shoes in the summertime. Absolutely. But how far are you really going to get? Sticks, rocks, thorns, all kinds of stuff. We're not talking about old, calloused up, crusty feet like mine. She's 5.
We have to make sure that we're being completely comprehensive as we investigate. And being focused in one direction is a tragedy for an investigation. So until we find evidence that points us in a direction that we know is the right direction, we'll continue to be comprehensive. We'll continue to explore every option that can be out there, and we would continue to ask for the public's help in doing so.
So with all of that, let's focus on the possibility that Summer Wells could have wandered off and fallen victim to the elements, not a predator. To better understand how this could happen, I want to refer to some of the reasons that expert search and rescue personnel consider when looking for lost children. And again, you got to keep in mind, this is a 5-year-old. Even though she's raised out in the woods, she's 5 years old. So disorientation, it's possible that Summer wandered from home, became disoriented, and couldn't find her way back. Now, the area around her home, again, is extremely steep and covered in dense foliage, which could easily confuse that child. In such situations, children often stray further from where they were to hopefully find familiar circumstances or landmarks. That creates a tougher search problem. As mentioned before, hazards like creeks and ravines, caves are dangerous. These are key areas that searchers like to look around because children are drawn to the water. Now, speculation arose that Summer could have fallen in a creek or river and been swept away, but extensive searches of water bodies have yielded no evidence thus far. But despite the significant manpower deployed, including canine units, helicopters, and drones, there has been no trace of Summer Wells in the woods. Now, this has led investigators to reconsider whether she could have wandered away without being found. This ongoing lack of evidence.
But if there's no trace of her in the woods, then was she carried? Put in a vehicle? We know the dog stopped at the road. We've got two different stories. That the dogs, not the Wells dogs, trained dogs. Okay? They made it down the driveway and they stopped at the road. Then we hear about the dog trail. Don had his own theory about that. But they did not track her through the woods at all. Britt 1027 said, I live in rural Tennessee and you can barely walk in the woods with boots, let alone barefoot. I'm glad you cleared that up. Thank you, sister.
Evidence supporting this theory has caused all kinds of speculation.
Hey, everybody, look who I'm hanging out with. And listen, I'm not attending choir practice, but I just wanted to tell you that you need to be watching Profiling Evil YouTube. Don't miss it.
So instead of remaining in one place, which is the thing that is advised in survival situations, a child might continue moving, often in random directions. And this behavior could take her further away from search teams who might be sweeping through the certain areas that have been designated as areas that they think are possibilities. Now, even if Summer had tried calling for help, the natural landscape could have absorbed her little cries. These hills and valleys and dense trees can hinder sound from traveling, especially if searchers are on the opposite side of a ridge or in a different part of the forest. We have to consider the fact that Summer Wells may have suffered an injury or simply became too tired to keep moving and then succumbed to the environment. The wilderness presents many physical challenges for a young child, such as uneven ground, rocky areas, rivers, thick underbrush. It is possible that Summer could have fallen and injured herself, perhaps lost consciousness or became immobilized. If she had fallen down a steep embankment, for instance, into a ravine and got stuck, or fell into a creek, it could mean that she's hidden from view by all these natural barriers that are out there. And keep in mind that a young child like Summer Wells isn't equipped to walk long distances, especially if she's under emotional stress. If Summer Wells became exhausted and decided to rest, she could have succumbed to fatigue and cold in a place hidden from plain view.
Okay, well, let's go to what Dawn and Candice said. She would never wander off. Now, Jose said she did. And so did one of her brothers. And they eventually found them. Summer had not eaten up all day. She had not eaten all day. She had basically some Skittles and a slushie from the Sonic. So how far can she get? And if what Grandis is saying is true and she was crying and they were yelling for her, you're telling me Summer never yelled back? Of course she did. Then I go to the 2 trips that Candice made after she got back from town. TBI confronted Candice and said they know that she left 2 more times that day. Many speculate that one was to hide Summer and 2 was to act like she was looking for her. But I don't know. That's just a theory.
Think about the dense vegetation again. It's easily concealing a little child lying on the ground, even from the air, and for those walking on foot. We talked a little earlier about wildlife encounters, and we have to consider the environment in addition. Rural Tennessee is home to black bear, coyote, wild boars. And while it's rare for these animals to actively hunt humans, especially in more populated areas, this is really rural. And it's not impossible that the child might have fallen into some dangerous encounter with wildlife.
But we had an extensive, and I'm not arguing with Mike in his theory at all. But I look at other children that have gone missing in the same area, or actually worse terrain, and are found within 6-7 hours, sometimes faster. There's been 3 or 4 since Summer disappeared. The only wildlife, in my opinion, Summer had to worry about were the people that were in charge of taking care of her.
A fallen victim. They pose a significant danger to children who are unfamiliar with water safety, even though we know that Summer liked the water and she liked swimming. If she bumped her head or something, it changes all the rules. Now, children are naturally curious and drawn to water, but they also are highly vulnerable to drowning. So if Summer fell into a fast-moving creek, she could have been carried downstream, trapped under some brush, and that could have led to her death. And that would have concealed her body for an extended period of time. Now, even small ponds or deeper pools of water can hide a body for a significant amount of time, especially if there's dense algae or reeds or other aquatic plants. And we've seen pictures of how those ponds were covered with algae in some places. This obscures the visibility from the surface, and it really makes it difficult for anybody searching in the water.
Oh, they've had plenty of time to search the water, but I agree with Cap. The bears carry Candice spray for sure. Like when Candice was worried about COVID, I'm like, no, COVID gets vaccinated to stay away from you, Candice. You don't have no fucking COVID. No. Scared of the bears and the snakes. They're scared of you. They're scared of you. I said it very early on. I said I wouldn't want to meet her in a dark alley. No way.
Water search teams for many years. They're quick to remind all of us of how challenging it is to find a body in the water. But how challenging is it to find them on land? And again, we've been talking a little bit about this, but even with advanced technology and expert personnel, search teams struggle to cover these vast areas. The terrain where Summer disappeared was challenging for ground teams with dense forests, hills, caves, rivers, water bodies. The steep and overgrown terrain of rural.
Not to be grim, but I'm familiar with rural places. And if something is deceased and above the ground, it's a dead giveaway, no pun intended, because hawks and buzzards circle and circle and circle. It's one of the easiest ways to find someone who's lost in the woods. But I go back to what Dawn said.
No, I have 7 alibis. I have 7 alibis. Candice ain't got none. She's going down.
You were at work, right?
Yep, 7 alibis. Candice ain't got none. She's going down.
You were at work.
He has 7 alibis. Candice ain't got none. She's going down. Well, they're not going to arrest any damn bear, snake, coyote, or wild boar. I can tell you that. They've given up on her just wandering off because they've had an extensive search. FBI card unit said she was not abducted. So, where does that leave us? I would say the instability in the home. Well, you guys, this has been a great show. It's super, super sad to think that today is Summer's birthday. I absolutely hate even thinking about how long she has been gone, and that it's another birthday that she is not here to have cake, ice cream, to get to celebrate with her friends, she would be in school. So let's take a minute to celebrate Summer.